Now that we understand the difference between pixels per inch, dots per inch, and lines per inch, and of course we know which one Photoshop is using, right? And all of our other graphics software is going to use on the screen here. We can now move on and take a closer look at actually working with the image size dialog box. And that's what I want to show you next here. And I want to give you a sense sort of what's happening. Now, this exercise may be a little bit confusing at first if you've never done this sort of stuff, but I think in the upcoming exercises all will make sense. So if it's not making sense at this point, sit tight and all will be revealed soon enough here. Okay. So I'm still inside the image size dialog box. Make sure you're still inside this dialog box as well if you are indeed following me along here. And what I'd like you to do is just make sure that resample image is turned on. So down at the bottom there, just make sure you have a check beside resample image. And what I want to show you here is what happens if I come along and I decide to start resizing my image. All right. So what I'm going to do up in the pixel dimensions area at the top of the dialog box is I'm going to go and make a change to the width of my file. So let's say instead of 1500 pixels, maybe I want this guy to be 600 pixels in width. A few things happen here. First of all, I change the width to 600 pixels. The height automatically changes. Why? Because don't forget, they're linked together because I have constrained proportions turned on down at the bottom. If you don't have constrained proportions activated or turned on down at the bottom of the dialog box, then you're going to distort your image. In other words, you could change the width and the height independent of one another, and you get what I call the Carnival Funhouse mirror effect, where all of your images, perhaps they're all tall and skinny now, or short and wide. They're all distorted and weird looking now, right? Which maybe you want, maybe you don't want. But we have the option to either allow that behavior or not allow that behavior. The other thing that changed is the document size changed as well. In other words, I dropped this down to 600 pixels, and now the width and height of the document, the physical size, the print size, has now been reduced down to 2 inches. What's up with that? And then also notice the resolution. Did the resolution change? No, the resolution remains fixed at 300 pixels per inch. So in other words, with resampling turned on, the pixel dimensions and the document size, the physical size of my image, they're connected. That's the part that I'm going to dig into in just a little bit. It's a little bit confusing. If I come along and change the physical size, instead of 2 inches by 2 inches, I decide, I want an image that's, let's say, 10 inches by 10 inches. Well, once again, the resolution is fixed. The height automatically changed to match the width because, again, I have constrained proportions turned on. And notice what happened to the pixel dimensions. The other thing that I want to point out as well is notice the file size at the top of the dialog box. I failed to mention this earlier, that at the very, very top of the dialog box, we're going to get an idea of the actual file size, usually in megabytes and kilobytes, right? So notice that with the changes that I'm about to apply to the image, cranking up the print size or the physical size to 10 inches by 10 inches, I am increasing my file size to 8.5 megs, and it was 2.15 megs. Now, there's one other thing that I want to show you here, and I believe I showed you this way, way, way back when. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold down the Alt key on my keyboard, or Option here on the Mac. And what that does is that changes my cancel button to a reset button. And I believe I showed you this when we were talking about the new document dialog box. So now that I've come into this image size dialog box and I've made some changes here, what I can do is I can go, you know what, I'm not happy with these changes, but rather than canceling the dialog box and then going back to the image menu and then back down to image size, I can simply hold down Alt or Option and click on Reset. And then what happens is all of the original settings repopulate the fields inside the image size dialog box. So we're back to 1500 by 1500 pixels for the pixel dimension at the top and 5 by 5 down inside the document size area. A very handy trick, holding down Alt or Option to reset not only the image size dialog box, not only the new document dialog box, but most of the dialog boxes inside Photoshop.